He might destroy the world someday, but I just don't care anymore. I'll never forget the first time I saw him. I hadn't eaten all day, and I'd popped into a local restaurant to pick up my usual order. There was a man sitting in the corner with his back to me. I remember thinking how strange it was to see other people here at this time. I spoke with the cashier and started to order when I saw the man stand up out of the corner of my eye. I looked over at him as he approached us, and he froze. I gave him an odd look and cautiously turned back to the cashier to keep ordering. The man tapped me on the shoulder, and I braced myself for anything. He asked me if I could see him, and I said that I could, confused by his question. He started crying. He said he'd been alone for so long that he couldn't believe it, and I took a slight step back. I was already having a rough day. The last thing I needed was someone who'd lost it, latching onto me. That was when the cashier asked me who I was talking to. It turns out that he wasn't crazy. Apparently, his signature Magicks let him peek through different possibilities, allowing him to observe both the reality where a decision is made and the reality where it wasn't. It all seemed simple enough, but somehow he'd gotten trapped in a place he called paradox, a kind of in-between place, as he put it. He'd been trapped there for a few months and was starting to lose hope when we met. I had no idea how I could help him, but given the fact that I was possibly one of the only people on the planet that could see him, I figured I had to try something. We worked together for the better part of a year, trying to unravel the mystery of how he'd gotten trapped and how to bring him back. He was a thoughtful, odd man, but he did seem deeply appreciative of our work together. Not that any of that matters anymore. I'd love to think that he was possessed by something, that something found him in paradox and fashioned itself a host. But the truth is, I don't know what happened to him. It's not as though we're on speaking terms after he tried to kill me for refusing to help free him. Oh, don't get me wrong, he asked me to reconsider politely at first, but let's just say that I saw him do a few things that made me realize I couldn't help him anymore. When that didn't work, then came the threats. He might not be a part of my world, but he could certainly ruin it. His exact words, by the way. It was a one-sided fight, unfortunately. He could reach into my world, but I couldn't reach into his. Eventually, I moved out of the city, protecting myself with a whole host of trinkets. Some people thought I was losing my mind, but they changed their tunes once they saw the destruction he'd caused. He stopped for a while after that, and I desperately hoped that he would get bored or move on. Instead, he came back, a few weeks later, with a proposition. He told me that he'd placed a series of explosion trinkets throughout my old apartment building. Then he gave me two options: help free him, or everyone in that building dies. I figured he had to be bluffing, so I told him so. I told him there was no way he'd just start killing random people. He corrected me, saying that they weren't random people. Then he started listing all my neighbors. I didn't recognize most of the names, but I recognized enough to understand. But I also understood that there was no choice here. I couldn't help him get out. There was something seriously wrong with him. If he was freed, he'd just kill more and more people, and it would be my fault. I wish I could say that he accepted defeat. He's killed thousands of people around the world at this point. He just won't stop, and there's nothing I can do about it. The accountants I talked to believe me, but they said there wasn't much they could do to help without being able to see him. And since I was the only one, there was little they could do. So here I am, sitting in my fortified cabin in the woods, reading another one of his letters, where he lists the amount of people he's killed this week. I wish I could say that I was still scared or sad. That would at least feel normal. But the truth is, I'm just tired. I'm tired of being the one who's responsible for all this death and destruction, even if it's indirectly. I looked out into the window, and I saw that my fence gate was open. I'd hastily put together the home with the help of some Magicks users for hire, so there were a couple of loose ends. But this damn gate refused to stay closed. I go outside to close it again, latching it shut. As I start walking back inside, the gate unlatches itself again. I walk back to the gate and slam it closed. Naturally, the gate bounces right back open. Since the mechanism is a bit temperamental, I kick the gate closed this time. and it bounces open again. I keep kicking the gate over and over until the gate comes off its hinges slightly. From there, I start pulling and kicking at the gate until it's no longer a part of my fence. I look down at the gate, slightly out of breath, and look around. It's a quiet, sunny day, and a realization dawns upon me. It was all so simple. I went back inside. The next week, I waited on my porch for him to arrive with my letter. He called out to me and asked me if I'd changed my mind yet. I told him exactly what was on my mind, that I wasn't sure what made him this way, or why he wanted to be part of this world again so badly. I told him that frankly I didn't really care anymore. I told him I'd help him, that I just needed 1 month, but I would make sure he was back in our world. In exchange, he just had to stop killing people. He calmly stated he'd only ever killed those people because I refused to help him. He said that I had nothing to worry about, unless I was lying. I told him I wasn't. It was the truth. I was absolutely planning on freeing him. How else would I be able to kill him myself? I've told a few people this story, and they always have the same question at this point. If I knew I could kill him, why did I wait so long to confront him like this? I always tell them the truth. I had absolutely no idea whether I could actually kill him or not. Every accountant I'd spoken to said that transferring Magicks across worlds was supposed to be impossible, and that most of it should have been lost in the transfer. It was their long-winded way of saying that he was likely only showing a fraction of his true ability, that the real danger in freeing him was that we had no idea how strong he actually was. But I'd realized something. I'd realized that there are times when a measured response was needed, that avoiding confrontation was a good way to avoid a fight, but a bad way to win one, and that sometimes the best tool in your arsenal is the fact that no one expects you to respond proportionately. He might expect me to bring some accountants to help capture him, but I knew he wouldn't expect me to be out to kill him. Even when he tried to take my life, I refused to fight him directly, but it all seemed so simple now. I'd made the mistake of treating him like a person, when he was really more of a disease at this point, infecting the world with his madness, and he wouldn't stop. Not today. Not ever. When he and I started working together, we theorized that my signature was a kind of star Magicks that allowed me to see possible outcomes in the real world. It wasn't a particularly useful Magicks, but I'd occasionally considered what it would be like to use my Magicks in a fight. I thought that maybe I could predict a punch or a kick, but the truth was, it would overlap with the real person's movements, and I wouldn't be able to react quickly enough. Of course, that's assuming I don't know what they're going to do. I started thinking about how I could control outcomes, and I realized I could only do that by being focused on the catalyst instead of the reaction. If I waited for his punch, it might turn into a kick, but if I threw a punch, whether he blocks or dodges, his next attack will be whatever he thinks is most effective. And if I leave intentional openings, he'll almost always take the bait. But why stop with hand-to-hand fighting? If I can control the flow of our fight, I can guide him anywhere I want to. It's cause and effect, just on a massive scale. I wasn't much of a fighter. But if I'm controlling the fight, why would that matter? I started thinking in terms of catalysts and reactions and planned my way through his freeing. And now, it's the end of the month. He looks so excited. He told me he appreciates that I didn't bring anyone else with me today. Something about avoiding unnecessary bloodshed. I agree. And ask him if he's ready to get started. The first catalyst moment. And he says exactly what I figured he'd say. He's ready to begin. So, let's begin then.